Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today, sadly, for the end of what we've been calling the Roadster tour in my AMG GT R Roadster, and I will explain that shortly. Unfortunately, the weather is doing what it has done so much of over the last couple of weeks. Well, we have been around Europe in this car, unfortunately, never-ending rain. We've had the roof down about 2 or 3 times in total, but thankfully one of those was at least for a lap of the Nurburgring. Anyway, today we're heading back towards home. That means we've got about 500 kilometers to get to the Eurotunnel, about 300 miles, the crossing to the UK with all of the declarations and documents, and then we will get back home later on and park this car up where we will unfortunately have to have an isolation, but that is the current situation with the rules, and don't worry, there's going to be a lot more content for you guys along the way. For now though, I want to give you a bit of a recap now that we've done a lot more driving in this car. In fact, on the dashboard we have 5,664 kilometers, which will be, well, up towards, I guess, 6,250 by the time we get back home later on. So about 4,000 miles, having not done that many with it before this trip. So a bit of an update on some things that I like, some things that I don't really like, and some niggles about this car versus the GT R Coupe and the GT R Pro. A significant part of the story of this trip has been weather like we have right now. Pouring with rain, even though we're looking ahead towards bright sunshine poking through the clouds. This car is absolutely filthy. In fact, it was last washed a good time before we even departed for this journey. So it is caked with grime, having gone up and down all around Europe, lots and lots of different driving everywhere, enjoying it a lot, driving it very hard, using it as intended, very much road trip mode, now in good need of things being cleared out and lots of bits and pieces that we have anywhere. Anyway, let me explain Roadster tour, because you're probably like, what? How does that connect? It's actually quite funny, and this comes down to phones and autocorrect. The number of messages that talk about the GT R Roadster, or where are you going with the Roadster, or something to do with the Roadster, amused us to the extent that we've kind of been calling it the Roadster tour. Obviously it's Roadster, but I guess most phones don't know the word Roadster, and it shortens to Roadster, so that's how that came about. Anyway, we have driven a lot of miles with it. Like I said, I bought this car as well as the Pro, thinking that it would be much more suited to this kind of adventure, and it really and truly is. Compared to the Coupe, it's pretty similar, of course. There is one fundamental thing that does irritate me quite a lot about the GT R Roadster as opposed to the GT R Coupe, which is that it actually has a much smaller fuel tank. When I say much smaller, it's all relative. The normal car has a 75-litre tank, which is what, 19 gallons? And this has a 65-litre tank, which I guess is about 16 gallons. It's not a huge difference, but it is the difference of probably 50 to 75 miles on each fill-up, so you find yourself at fuel stations significantly more in here than I'm used to from the Pro or the Coupe before that. So a little bit of a difference. There's also the slight hindrance in terms of luggage capacity in the boot, the trunk. You can't fit anything like as much stuff, but for a trip of this length, we've been able to manage just fine, including some random bits and pieces that we've managed to pick up along the way. But it's still very much the AMG GT that I enjoy so much. If you're just cruising in it, it's fairly comfortable, it's fairly compliant, it's got nice technology, but then when you come out to a nice open road, it also happens to be incredibly exciting. It's that mid-engine or front mid-engine setup that gives you this, I don't know, just such a rewarding drive, such an exciting drive, whether it's on the Nurburgring, on a twisty road, or just cruising, as we are pretty much for the rest of the day. We do have a little bit of stretch of Autobahn shortly in front of us, a very familiar route for me. In fact, we're going to be joining the route that I would normally have done in the past, going from the place that we had over in Frankfurt to get back to the UK. So we'll head out onto that part of the Autobahn, then we're going to go through Belgium, through France, across the Eurotunnel, and there's a whole lot of paperwork involved in all of this. But the strange thing is that I have a lot of other stuff coming for you guys as well. So we're going to be going home and having an isolation, but I've still got plenty more to come for you guys to see, and yeah, it's going to be very confusing. A lot of backwards and forwards. Anyway, for the time being, it's now sunny, just like that. It's kind of haze, kind of cool actually, to be honest. He's not happy with going 70, but hey, I can't control the limit. 70 is 70. Let's cruise on. We are joining the Autobahn already. Now this has been one of the irritating things, I'm going to say, about this car as well during this journey that I talked about fairly extensively when I was at the Nurburgring with it, which is all to do with this little error message that we have with the front active aero. And you can see the exclamation point on that graphic that I from this position cannot see, which means that obviously prevents us from going over 200 kilometers an hour because it has an electronic speed limiter. Wow, the sun reflecting off the wet tarmac is very, very, very bright. But here we are, back out onto the Autobahns. I suspect with this kind of weather, it is going to be a little bit of a cruise. I need the sun visor down, not that that really does all that much. And this is where this car comes into its own, to be honest. Obviously you have the adaptive cruise control, but that's kind of cool. I'm not sure if you can see it, but in the mirror, I have a bit of a rainbow in the spray behind us. I don't think you can see that, but the way the light angles were, that was really quite cool. Yeah, anyway, gentle-ish drive ahead of us as we make our way onwards. I suppose probably the first 100 kilometers or so to get over into Belgium. Given we're on the Autobahn, let's go and test the limiter again, see what it will let us do this time. There we go, that's it. 198. Obviously the same problem I had on the Nurburgring where it effectively limits you to 4,000 RPM while it can't put the spoiler down. 4,000 RPM in 7th, I think if you're in 6th, yeah, you can go a little bit higher in the red range in 6th, but it does stop at the same top speed. There we go, exactly the same. Just shy of 200 kilometers an hour, so just over 120 miles an hour or so. Go back into 7th because we have a little bit of traffic up ahead. Now I hope we're not going to have too bad a journey. It's an evening run, so fingers crossed it's going to be fairly plain sailing. Trying to take in the different speed limit signs, the confusing signs that act only at certain times of day. This is what I've talked about a few times. See here on the dashboard, it tells us 100 kilometers an hour. I can tell you from the sign we just went past, it's 100 only from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on weekdays, and it's definitely not 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on weekdays we're filming this. So the car kind of lies when it comes to speed limits when it detects using the cameras, and that's not an AMG problem, that is an every car problem, whether it's a BMW, an Audi, a Mercedes, whatever it might be, just in terms of reading the signs correctly and getting it right. Anyway, a little bit of traffic here, hopefully it's going to open up before too long and we can have a clean journey. Somehow it is now completely dry and beautifully sunny only a couple of minutes later. This has been the story of this trip, as has been sitting at about 200 kilometers an hour, but we are going to stop in a moment to effectively have our last fill up in Germany so that we can do a full, long, well, almost one hit across from here towards the end. So we'll top up the car, grab some bites to eat as well, but so far, to be honest, this is thankfully a very empty stretch of road and all going pretty well. Well, believe it or not, we are entering Belgium after the foul weather of Germany to sunshine here in Belgium. Let's hope it is a traffic-free route across towards France. Somehow, and I do not know how, we are currently cruising through Belgium, and fingers crossed it stays this way, but up to this point it has been very, very sunny and not a whole lot of traffic. We're somewhere near the ring road around Antwerp at the moment, so about halfway through, about 2 hours still to go to get to the Eurotunnel. But if you're familiar with many of my road trips to date going between London and Germany, often in Belgium there are traffic jams and there is a lot of rain, but this time that was all in Germany, so this seems to be going fairly well, he says, as we get to a speed restriction, so it might be about to all go very pear-shaped. Anyway, in the meantime, I have been cracking on with some editing. Never stop, always doing something when we're on the road trip, making the most of the time, hence why I'm currently in the passenger seat, just to get some work done and get some things sorted out. But let's hope this isn't about to be some massive, unpleasant, annoying traffic jam. Otherwise, it is going very, very well, and we can't complain. It is quite overall a comfortable car to be riding in. The thing that I do not like about this car, that I have mentioned a few times before, are the seats. These are the AMG performance seats. Sorry, quite hard to see them. They are not the bucket seats that I had in the Coupe, have in the Pro, have in the SLS, and hope to have in this car in the future. But unfortunately, timetables did not align to be able to get this car to Opus while we were in Germany at the Nurburgring in order to get them installed. It's a complicated process with the ECUs, making sure they're all set up, because this car is not made to have the bucket seats. So alas, those will have to wait for a future occasion. But it's all, when it comes to seats, it's a very personal thing. and these for me are just too firm on my lower back, and I did badly injure my lower back quite a while ago, and I still feel it a little bit, so these seats don't work for me, whereas the buckets seem to fit my shape perfectly, which obviously is going to be my preference. That's why the seats are going in. The bucket seats are going to go into this car to be able to keep it, and fortunately it seems to be totally open and easy and no stress. And I say we're at Antwerp. Are we at Antwerp? Yes, I think we are at Antwerp. I just worried for a moment maybe we were actually at Brussels and I didn't have a clue where we were going. But yes, the seats are a thing. I have not enjoyed the long slogs in these seats. I talked a little bit about it, I think, on the first leg on the way down all the way over to Germany, and it's consistently been something that bothers me more when I'm in the passenger seat than when I'm driving, but I'm not the biggest fan. Anyway, I need to crack on with this stuff, and I guess all is going well. We're getting towards sunset, but spoke a little bit too soon because we definitely have a few raindrops on the window at the moment. We also, by the way, have some rubber from the Nurburgring that I haven't cleaned off yet. I hadn't spotted that being over on the passenger side, but yeah, just Belgium things. Thankfully no traffic though up to this point, although famous last words, hey. There we go. I don't know why I'm so pleased about this. I'm really not. It's just the way these things tend to be when you're on a road trip across Europe, especially at the moment with the unusual weather at this time of year. And now it is time to enter into France. The last home stretch, you could say, as we continue. A short while later, and we are coming round the corner then here towards the check-in desks at the Eurotunnel, and I suspect it's not going to be very, very busy here at the moment, but no doubt we will need to produce a whole lot of documents and things. We've got all of the declarations and test results and everything that you have to do this kind of journey. So we'll see how all of this goes in a minute and line up for the train that we're going to be taking in about an hour and 45. So we are very, very early, but they're running a significantly reduced schedule, so there are not a whole lot of trains at the moment, and there are a lot of red crosses up in front of us as well. There are a couple of desks that are open, so we'll see exactly which one this is going to be taking us to in a moment. Those are some savage bumps. Anyway, yeah, this has all been redone recently. Let's go show our paperwork and take it from there. This is quite funny. I'm currently reversing because although we have a green arrow up there, which would make you think that this lane is open, there's nobody at the booth, and I pressed on the assistance button and promptly got told that this lane was closed. That doesn't look so closed, does it? Anyway, let's go try another one. Well, they're all queuing for one that's got a cross. That's really odd. We've made it this far and it is still not very busy, just like when we came out in the other direction, although it did take quite a long time to go through the Eurotunnel check-in process, French customs and the UK customs, because of course they are checking lots of different documents, where you've been, what you've done, passenger locator forms, declarations, COVID tests, just about everything you could possibly imagine. It's also surprisingly cold right here, considering the car actually said about 20 degrees an hour or two ago. Anyway, sun is setting, getting towards the end of the day. We will have to hang around a fair bit because our crossing is not for exactly 1 hour from now. Then we will cross over to the UK and have about a 2-hour drive on the other side to get the GT R Roadster back home. We've had a bit of a wait, but thankfully we are now heading to our train. Of course, night has completely fallen, at least it's summer, and at least it is not raining, to be completely honest. We shall head down here to go and get ready to board shortly. They are still disembarking the previous train. I guess we'll hover for a short while and then get onto the train. It is a bit of deja vu then. We are heading in and we are actually the first car in the carriage, which is a fun advantage of Flexi Plus, even if you're not the first to get here. Well, unless there's another Flexi Plus car in front of you, of course. You will always get at the front of the next train, which I always quite enjoy, because it means we're the first off, even if we're very promptly after we get off the other side going to be stopping for a quick break anyway. It makes no sense. But yes, then of course continuing straight onwards. But for now, taking it easy, gentle cruise down through the train, and then the half-an-hour crossing under the channel. Now, while we're crossing, one thing I want to do very quickly is change this back into miles, which is super easy to do here. You just go into units, pop it to miles, done, just like that. We have 3,800 miles on the clock in total on this, so just over 3,000 more than we started off with a couple of weeks ago, and that means I can take this off. The running in sticker that gives us the instructions that I've been kind of leaving on for, well, no real reason, to be honest, but we can take it off officially he says. Now there's another sticker I need to remove from below, but that's all the notes on breaking in a new vehicle, what you can and can't do. Is this going to come off easily as well? No, I'm going to have to take that one off too. Oh, I'll do that off camera, but yes, it was time. Those needed to be removed. This is quite a rare part of the process to get to see, as the whole section actually opens up that we enter and exit through, obviously big enough for buses and coaches and things. That upper section all slides back, and you can only see this if you're in the front car. And then obviously the folded up parts open out as well, so that we can actually drive out and down them. But when you're at the back of the train and you're wondering what's happening up in front of you, this is exactly it. It just takes a moment for all of this to basically be done in front of our eyes and then drive out onto the UK side. I kind of want to see what happens when the ramps all open up as well. I haven't seen this for a long time. Normally kind of squeezing into the back of a previous carriage as opposed to being at the very front of one that's one we've been waiting because we're nearly always late, or we try and squeeze onto one because that's the benefit of Flexi Plus, that you can just make that last minute move. So we put everything into miles as opposed to kilometers. I got that final sticker off, of course, as well. I suppose now, are these going to fold down, or do they do it manually? I don't actually know. We'll find out. Oh yeah, something's happening. Something's happening. It looks like they're shuffling, maybe lifting up. Oh, it's all lifting up. It's raising the height of that carriage. That's fascinating. And then, do they fold? Does somebody press a magic button? The moment of truth? Is it about to happen? There we go. Cool, check that out. And then I guess in a second we can start. We'll be given a thumbs up. And then we'll be able to head out. Waiting for the button, waiting for the button. There we go, we're allowed to go. Start the car into drive. Don't know why the wipers ran, but touchdown England. So onwards then from here towards London, just shy of 2 hours. It should be pretty quick at this time of night. The clock will need to update. It is still currently showing us the European time. That will automatically change, or at least it should. And we will make our way for the last stage of this journey. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm very, very tired. Looking forward to getting home and having a rest for a couple of days. In a reverse of our sightseeing when we were coming the other way, we've got Tower Bridge, we've got the Shard somewhere over there, we've got the Tower of London, and we've got some lovely 20 mile per hour London speed limits to cruise on at this stage. I'm not gonna lie, I am very, very tired. The London Eye is looking very colourful over there on the other side of the Thames. That is very Lamborghini Huracan Viola Bast, it has to be said. And we've got the different colours of the bridge as well, which is quite fun the way it's illuminated. Done, made it, back home, GT R Roadster back alongside the GT4, which I'm looking forward to taking out at some point very soon. This car is absolutely filthy. Those front wheels are basically completely black. Normally, this should be a bright silver rim. Of course, new car, lots of brake dust, some outings on the Nurburgring. It will need a full clean in a couple of days' time, and somehow we got all of that stuff into the car. That's probably what I'm most surprised about at the moment. All the bags and things and suitcases and bits and pieces, not all that bad for a convertible Grand Tourer. Typically you lose obviously a bit of practicality with the convertible roof, as we talked about when we were right here, in fact with the car right up alongside the GT4, which I'm going to do in a moment, but we just parked it across the two spaces so that we could get everything out of the car, which needed a little bit of work. Interestingly, the front left wheel is nowhere nearly as dirty as the front right wheel. Small things, hey, but what an adventure it has been. The car now has just shy of 4,000 miles on the clock. It has travelled an incredible voyage of, well, more than a Gumball 3000, with many things along the way, many exciting things, some of which are still to come, some of which have been absolutely packed in over the last couple of days so that we can go and do our isolation and all the tests in line with the rules over the coming week or so. For now though, the end of a crazy, crazy journey. We're gonna go upstairs, have a rest. I am totally exhausted, but that is it, I think, for now. Thank you very much for following along, guys. Bit of feedback about the car. My back is very sore. I can't wait to get the buckets in it, but it's an amazing machine, and I'm very much looking forward to having this in the garage alongside the Black Series in not very long in the Museum
in really not very long. We are talking a matter of weeks now, and I can't wait to share with you everything that has been going on to try and get the shell of this place ready, to bring all of the Schneemobiles together and to start things coming forwards on the new channel as well. That's it for now though. Thanks again guys, I need a rest and I'll see you very soon. Cheers!